Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's International Dream Day, Tony. How your dreams been lately?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Weird. Last night's included a bag of feathers, a hot glue gun, and Gene Shalit. Gene Shalit.
I'm going to guess that no more than 11 people listening to us now know the name Gene Shalit. And so, Gene Shalit, is he still with us?
He is with us. He's going to be 100 in a couple of weeks. 100 years old. He was a great movie reviewer for NBC for years and years and years. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. We will get to Bam Adebayo's 83 and Italy's upset of Team USA in a moment. But we begin today with upheaval in the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens, who just a few days ago traded 2 number 1 picks for Raiders pass rusher Maxx Crosby, have reneged on the deal. It's off. The Raiders still have Crosby. The Ravens still have their 2 picks, and today they added pass rusher Trey Hendrickson, a free agent from Cincinnati. Wilbon, how do the Ravens look, and what do you see as a potential domino effect here?
Wow. Tony, this thing, I'm completely obsessed with this story and became that last night. And I'm still obsessed with it, in part on both sides. Like, the Raiders get him back on the roster right now, but they signed a ton of people. How do they fit that all under the cap at the moment? And the Ravens seems like they've made out because they get Hendrickson, a pass rusher who's not quite the impact player perhaps overall that Maxx Crosby is, but they get their edge rusher guy, right? And they add him and they don't have to give up either of the 2 picks.
That's right.
So the whole thing is just, it's crazy. Like, what's the standard for a team saying, we don't like the X-rays, take a hike, return to sender? What's the standard? Who gets to judge that? There's so many questions. None of them have answers, and it makes it, to me, so fascinating.
My understanding of it is they are able to do that because the deal had not been consummated because it was not yet Wednesday
yet.
When the deals are officially done. Look, I disagree with you. I think Trey Hendrickson is every bit as good as Maxx Crosby. Trey Hendrickson had 10 more sacks than Maxx Crosby from 2019 on. Crosby's very good. Hendrickson is very good, and they're both coming out of injuries. I think that getting Hendrickson saved the Baltimore Ravens a lot of egg on their face because they look foolish to just get out of this trade. They would just look ridiculously foolish at this point to me. Now what they've got, well, let me just start by saying when that trade happened, you and I and a lot of other people, we gave kudos to Baltimore. We said, wow, they're going for it right now. They're trying to get into the Super Bowl. I think if they hadn't gotten Hendrickson and they called the deal off, they actually would have looked like clowns. But Hendrickson saves them. Who's the GM? Eric DeCosta. Eric DeCosta's been there a long time. He had never, ever traded a number 1 pick, just one of them, and now he traded 2. Obviously, he had second thoughts. Obviously, he felt that this was not a good deal, and he tried to get out of it. But again, I think Hendrickson saves them because Baltimore was in trouble. They had a terrible pass rush last year, and a lot of their free agent people were going. Now, Mike, they have Hendrickson. They have both number 1s, and they look like it's a big win. They should have done it that way to start.
Well, Tony, look, I agree. I mean, I know when the Bears were mentioned in this stuff, I didn't want to give up 2 number 1s for Maxx Crosby. I will push back in this way, though. Maxx Crosby's better against the run and a better overall player, not just looking at pass rush, than Hendrickson. But I'm with you on I'd rather just have Hendrickson and those 2 number 1s, particularly when one of them is the 14th overall pick. I agree with you there.
Yes.
So Baltimore to me. And how do the Raiders get to just keep everybody? Really? What kind of accounting is that?
I think that they can fit everybody under the cap, and I think that in this particular case, you would think that Crosby would go somewhere else. You would think that bridges were burned, but maybe not because it's a first-year coach in the Raiders. Maybe he reaches out to Crosby. Maybe it works. I don't know.
Yeah, it's got some time. I mean, the big Packers-Cowboys deal didn't happen last year until like July, so there's some time. Let's turn to Bam Adebayo's enormous night. He scored 83 points, the second most in NBA history, in Miami's 150-129 win over Tony's Wizards. Bam had 31 after the first quarter, 43 at the half, 36 came at the foul line, a new NBA record. And Heat coach Eric Spoelstra aided the effort of his player with some of his decisions. Afterward, Bam said, quote, "Wilt, me, then Kobe. Sounds crazy," close quote. Tone, what'd you think of how Bam accomplished this thing last night and who he did it against?
Okay, so let me be perfectly clear in this. Bam Adebayo is a fine player. He's not a Hall of Fame player. He is a fine player. But 83? Really? 83? I mean, come on. So let's look at how he got it. He went to the foul line 43 times. That's an NBA record. Right? And that tells you the Wizards were not attempting to defend him. They were just fouling him. They weren't trying to stop him. They were just fouling him. They made no attempt to do anything else. And he took 22 threes. I know that you know this. I know you know how many threes Wilt took when he got 100. He took no threes because the threes weren't around. So let me talk about the Wizards for a second. They are a disgrace to the capital of the United States of America. They are a disgrace to the NBA. They have been trying to lose for the last 3 years and succeeding. Their defense is ranked second worst in the league. You saw it last night, and defense is just effort. They've tried to lose for 3 years. I think that the president of the basketball operations and the general manager and the coach should all be fired. I thought they should have been fired at the end of last year. But clearly the owner believes in the tanking strategy, or else he would have stopped this a long time ago. As you know, Mike, I don't think they should get any ping pong balls. I don't think they should be rewarded for trying to lose. I think if Adam Silver has an ounce of decency in him, he'll say, no, you do not get a reward. No ping pong balls for you. And not only that, he should say, and you're selling season tickets, based on false hope. I mean, you're trying to lose. So I'm done.
All right, let me go back to the topic that interests more people outside of you and me in Washington. That would be Bam. Richard Jefferson, I thought, used a great word, and there were so many reactions to this last night. Richard Jefferson used the word outlier. Because, Tony, if we sat down and you put 50 names in front of me, you might get to 100. And you said, okay, circle the guy who's going to score 83. I can go at least 50 deep before I go to Bam, whose career high was like 41, 42. Fine player. Like a really good dude. Bam, is the kind of guy you root for, defensive player, comes into the league to do dirty work. Tony, there's no way you think that Bam is going to do this, but he did it. And I when I heard this last night, I was just like, oh my God. And then the Wizards came. So yes, I laughed at it as well. But Tony, just think this. He could have scored 100. He was 7 of 22 from three.
From three.
If he goes 15 of 22 from three, he's got 91, and he missed free throws. Tony, 100 wasn't even outrageous, and it's outrageous because we know it belongs to Wilton. But it was like, it's still wow.
He had 41 in the first quarter. Do you know how many points Michael Jordan had in his best quarter of all time? This is Michael Jordan we're talking about. He had 40. Bam Adebayo had more points in one quarter than Michael Jordan has ever had. It's an amazing thing. Let's turn to the World Baseball Classic and the sticky situation the U.S. team now finds itself in. By losing to Italy last night 8-6, the U.S. will only get into the quarterfinals if Italy beats Mexico tonight, or if Mexico beats Italy and scores 5 or more runs in 9 innings. It's complicated. The U.S. team has only itself to blame for this, and their manager, Mark DeRosa, was unaware of this jeopardy early yesterday, and in fact said the U.S. team was moving on well before last night's game against Italy was played. Now, DeRosa says he learned the exact circumstances well before the game that indeed the U.S. was not automatically in. Wilbon, how did USA's performance yesterday against Italy look to you?
Tony, it looked like a game that I wasn't expecting. When I watch this, I'm watching this to watch the United States, Japan, Mexico, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, right? You know why we're watching this. Baseball fanatic. I'm not watching this to watch Italy or Great Britain. I don't even want to see them.
Right.
I'm ready for them come July for the World Cup. So I'm looking. The score comes up, And it's like whatever it is, when I first was aware of it, waiting on a 5-hour delayed flight to Chicago that never took off. And I look up and see the score, and it's like 5-0. I'm like, whoa, Italy? Italy, is this a friendly? What is this? So, but Tony, I hate to say this. I mean, it's cool when a superpower, and that's what we are, particularly in baseball. When a superpower is pushed to the brink, there's drama, and that's what any tournament needs.
Yeah, I'm not going to knock the United States team because Petro Armstrong had 2 home runs. Gunnar Henderson had 1 home run. Yeah. They came back, and they're facing a situation where Aaron Judge is the tying run in the bottom of the 9th, and he's at bat. So he strikes out. Okay, that happens. Previous 2 games, he had hit home runs. I do think the DeRosa thing is sort of interesting, you know, that he had said early on that the United States was in and then had to walk it back. But I will take him at his word that he didn't change the lineup around.
Same here.
That he managed exactly the way he's supposed to manage. I'll take him at his word. I will say this, though, Mike. The United States scored 6 runs. 6 is a pile of runs. Baseball teams win games when they get 6 runs. 6 should have been, it seems to me, enough. Now they'll all watch it tonight at 7 o'clock. And I'm actually hoping that Cal Raleigh texts his good friend Rosarena and says, could you help us out? Could you get us some runs? Let's take a break.
No doubt.
Coming up, could injuries affect Duke's seeding in the NCAA tournament? We're going to ask Joey Brackett's Joe Lunardi.
We'll also ask him what he sees as the potential seeding for undefeated Miami of Ohio. Tony, if the U.S. lineup is so great.
With the top college conference tournaments getting underway, we want to check in with our good friend, ESPN bracketologist Joe Lunardi. Wilbon, Lunardi's had a tough month. His favorite bagel joint out in the Jersey Shore closed. And so it's a tough month for him. We got to make sure he's okay. Let's start with this,
Joe. Betting he'll recover betting on Lunardi.
Could these injuries to Duke or a loss in the tournament, excuse me, materially affect Duke's seeding or Duke's path?
I don't think so, guys, and here's why. Duke has enough separation over the other teams competing for a 1 seed. I think they could lose by 40 in their ACC opener and still be the number 1 seed in the East, regardless of who takes the floor. Now, might they be 1 overall and or lose that spot? Can Michigan and or Arizona eclipse them? Yes, but that's really a distinction without a difference, because Duke's geographic assignment, Greenville, South Carolina, and then D.C., is pretty well set. And I think playing the long game here and trying to get at least one of their 2 injured guys back is the smart play.
All right, Joe. Duke, Michigan, Arizona. Give us the mystery guess. Who is the 4th number 1 seed?
Today it's Florida, and for good reason, even though the Gators didn't have the greatest non-conference performance bumping along while they inserted a new backcourt. They've really been excellent for the last 6-7 weeks and equal to those 3 other teams. Not over 30 games, but over the last 15, they've been equal. They will be a very worthy defending champion and really the only team on the number 1 seed line that could lose that spot if they go out early in the SEC tournament and UConn gets back to the top of the Big East by winning a rubber game against St. John's.
All right, Tony and I have been particularly interested in and protective of Miami of Ohio. And they're unbeaten, of course. If they go through their tournament and stay undefeated, what kind of seeding do you see for Miami of Ohio?
This is really an unprecedented situation. You guys are old enough to remember all the undefeated teams, at least since we started seeding the field in 1979. That's almost 50 years. There have only been 6 undefeated regular season teams in that span, and they've all been 1 seeds. And they've not all been blue bloods. You know, we've had Kentucky, we've had Gonzaga, we've even had the Wichita States and the St. Joseph's. But this Miami team is not a 1 seed, okay? But when I hear people talk about them being barely in the field, we've lost the plot. They're a member of Division I, and they haven't lost any games. We keep score for a reason. I think if they run the table, The committee will do what it often does with teams with an uneven resume. They're going to be in an 8-9 game and a very dangerous first-round opponent.
Ooh.
You know what? I think that's fair. I think that's fair to reward them in that way. I mean, you're not going to make them a 3 seed or a 4 seed, but an 8-9, that seems fair to me. Let's get you out of here on this. How do you feel? Mike and I don't like this, the expansion of the tournament, the possible expansion of the tournament. How do you feel about the possibility of the tournament expanding?
Well, on one hand, I hate it because I'm still a bracket nerd that it should be the perfect 64. But I also don't think that teams with losing conference records should be eligible for an at-large bid. I think we play the season for a reason, and I think there should be minimum tournament eligibility. Now, since that's never going to happen, I think we almost need some modest, and I mean very modest, expansion to protect us from the power conferences that, if they had their way, would squeeze out all the Miamis, all the Sister Jeans, all the Butlers, and all the George Masons. So that's my hill, and I'm ready to die on it.
How many, when you talk about minimum, how many? How many teams do you think? How many?
I think we could go up to 80, actually, and have the equivalent of a first 4 in each region. The first 4 concept works. 80 is more symmetrical than the 72 and 76 proposals that are on the table. But, and here's my gigantic but, for me, all of the automatic qualifiers, from the SEC to the Southland, they would all be in the main bracket. They would not be in opening round play-ins. And the only teams playing in would be all the bubble teams in the middle of the field. And yes, that would put bracketologists out of business. And as long as they wait 2 or 3 years, I'm okay with that.
I like this. That's a good idea. Thank you as always, Joe. Thank you.
Joe, appreciate it, man.
You bet.
You can fill out your own bracket by using the ESPN Tournament Challenge. Let's take one last break, but still to come, the Colts commit to Daniel Jones.
And Jaylen Brown's second quarter ejection scuttles the Celtics matchup with the Spurs, ruined it for a lot of us.